This is In the Fourth Turn with Jim Shelton. This week we are going to Milwaukee for the race there, and thought I would talk about the season and the 114th IndyCar season. Yep, 114. And they still haven't figured out how to market. It's pretty sad. I was watching Connor Daly earlier tonight and his little podcast, and he had Graham Rahal on there, and he said the same thing. Then I was looking earlier at since 1996, the year of the split, IndyCar has ran at 45 tracks. 20, I think it was 25 ovals, 10 street courses, and 10 natural courses. And if you add up how many they have now, the natural courses, of course, are Indy, Barber, Mid-Ohio, Road America, and it's on the West Coast. It'll come to you in a minute. Anyway, that course is pretty forgettable. And then, of course, Portland. So they currently have 5. And they've driven at 5 others. I guess that would be Watkins Glen. That forgettable course in New Orleans. Sonoma. And probably 2 from the kart days. I think they may have ran at Brands Hatch back then, and there's another one someplace. It's the Mexico City. But that's not been a problem. They've been able to keep those. Usually most of the courses that are on the schedule now have been very stable. I would say Road America and Mid-Ohio are probably 2 of the most solid races that they have on the schedule, along with Indy, Long Beach, and St. Pete. Then it gets pretty sparse. Probably in the medium category would be Barber, Gateway, Milwaukee's not there yet. And then you've got places like Iowa, who they probably aren't going to go back to because they can't market. Sold out 3 years in a row. 2 races. But the fans decided not to come this year because they didn't tell anybody they were racing. Nobody knew about it. But that's their fault. Yeah, how do you do that? Go to Newton after the race. I had heard from people in the crowd that there were no signs up anywhere at any of the restaurants. Literally, we found one sign, and we're looking for them. I mean, Newton's not a very big place. You can drive around for a minute. Hy-Vee had a little bit of a thing at their one of the grocery stores there. They still were a minor sponsor this year. That just is unacceptable. I mean, you do no marketing and you blame it on the fans. So you're not going to come back because you didn't tell anybody. I guess it's their fault that they don't know anything about it. Why that happens, there's more to that story than that, because nobody would do that in any kind of business, would they? I don't know. These people are pretty weird. They never want to lose face. They never do anything wrong. They never admit to doing anything wrong. Ever. Never. So, you know what I probably ought to do? I ought to take this hat off and put on my IndyCar hat that is stained and bruised and everything, and do the rest of the little spiel with it. One of the biggest problems in IndyCar is they have no stars. They try to develop them, and then they're out of the series before anybody knows anything about it. The guys that are there forever, like Will Power and Scott Dixon right now, Elio at Indianapolis, Carpenter, people like that have been around, 20 years plus. I mean, Marco Andretti even. They either force them out, or something weird happens and they just don't come back. And they do the same thing with racetracks. How do you go through 25 ovals when you only have 5 on the schedule? And granted, some of those were CART deals, but CART didn't run a whole CART and Champ Car didn't, or whatever they called it, championship teams or whatever it was called. They didn't run a whole lot of ovals, and most of the ones that they ran were still running. Like for an example, Gateway was one of them, and the track at Milwaukee. But they've ran through Phoenix a couple times. They've ran and they can't get a crowd there, and they used to be able to get a crowd there, so they've done something to piss the fans off, and they don't come back. And then they blame it on the fans, of course, because it's their fault that they don't want to spend their money and doing that. And one of the places that I've heard fans really gripe about is camping. The facilities suck at every one of the IndyCar races that don't get a lot of fans. The events are minimal. There's a lot of downtime. Like this weekend at Milwaukee, they act like they're wall to wall, but I haven't yet found a schedule that has everything on it. Like I'm going to the race in Milwaukee. I still don't know what's going on. There is no website that I found yet that tells you that here's what time this starts, then the next event, and blah blah blah. Like at other tracks, like Indianapolis, exactly. There's a website to go to, and exactly when things are going to happen on any weekend. Actually, there's no excuse for that. I mean, that's simple stuff. Why wouldn't you do that? They on their website they act like the event is separate for the IndyCar race, and they're having an IndyXT race, which is the same organization. It's both of them are IndyCar events, and it's a separate event on their website. There's nothing that combines the two. If there's a third type of cars that are coming, why aren't they on the schedule? Like for an example, at that track, why don't you have a modified race? I mean, modifieds are big up in Wisconsin, and always have been. Why wouldn't you have maybe a Champ Car race with the Silver Crown cars? Why wouldn't you have that series propped up a little better so it was doing these things at your oval tracks, so you don't have so much downtime, so you get the track rubbered in? The biggest problem with racing today is the track isn't prepared because they don't do any running like they used to. And so when they get on the track, the first 50 laps of any big event, they're rubbering it in, and so nobody does anything. I mean, or they crash, and that is not acceptable. We can continue to go down the line. We got Kansas, we got Homestead, we got Phoenix. They've blown out at all those places. New Hampshire, Richmond, Dover, Charlotte, Atlanta. I mean, you can just keep going on the list of oval tracks that they've blown out of because they don't know how to promote those events. Penske Entertainment absolutely sucks at promotion, and they always have. When Roger owned tracks before, he had great events. But the same people aren't running his tracks now, and he's only one person. His son is a terrible manager of racetracks. When he was there before, he just doesn't have the interest level that Roger does. The reason he's selling out is because this guy can't do it. He can't do it. Why he doesn't have a better plan than what he's got, I have no clue. He knows that this is wrong. Roger, sell everything. All of it. Get the hell out of the racetrack business. Get the hell out of the race organization business. And let somebody come in that'll get rid of people like deadweight, like Mark Miles and Bud Danker. They both stink. Anybody that thinks that Detroit's a good race event is an absolute freaking idiot. That track is awful for any kind of racing. I don't care what it is. You could run taxi cabs. Literally go get taxi cabs, and that would be a lousy race. The corners are too narrow, and the turn speeds are too slow. It's not big time racing. You see, in fact, you could probably have a figure eight race at Anderson Speedway in Anderson, Indiana, 10 minutes from my house, and you have a better event. And that's not big time racing. I'm sorry. I love those guys over there. Well, I like the track. I don't know if I love the management. But the track over there, they used to run a thing called NASCARts. Okay, those were more exciting than a race at Detroit. And literally, they're guys on fancy go-karts. But we could go. I could go to a Bandolero race. It would be better than that one, and I wouldn't have to pay as much money, and I wouldn't have to worry about getting robbed. Frankly, Detroit is the absolute worst place to have a race of any kind, or any sporting event for that matter. There are better places you can have tracks. Toronto, they've got a race up there that people are supporting now, and they're going to have a problem next year, and they're going to move it away from the facility where it's at. Move it. Just take a year off. Don't try to do stupid stuff like that. That never works, and it will stain the event. You guys don't think that people have a memory. That's your problem. Is you do stupid stuff. You ruined the Brickyard 400 because you allowed NASCAR to not come and test. If they didn't want to test when you put down a new pavement, why the hell did you even allow them to come? It should have been a condition of their contract that they had to test every year, because that track is different than everything they race. And you had a year where it was bad before this. You'd done plenty of stuff to gouge people to death on parking and crap like that, but you made it 30 times worse when you have an event where you're having to throw a caution every 10 laps. That's not racing. I could go to the local short track. I'd rather go to Kokomo to a dirt track race. I don't know why they don't get it. Just go out and go to oval track races and see what they do there. What made the IndyCar series at short tracks like Milwaukee and Iowa and places like that was they used to be events around them. When they ran it at Springfield, it was around the state fair, which still is. That event still exists. Those same kind of cars are still running there, and they have a sellout crowd every year. Now, granted, it's only 10 or 12,000 people, but you can't even get that many to 2 races at freaking Iowa. You know what? I bet they had posters, and I bet they told people about the race. I bet they do every year. They probably still do that. And that promoter would be better at Iowa than the one you had this year. And they don't know nothing about the track. I camped across the street. I booked the campgrounds 2 days before we left. 2 days. The campground didn't even know there was a race until all the race fans started coming. They wondered why they were filling up, and they found out that there was a race that weekend. I go to the Casey's literally across the interstate from the track. No one there knew anything about a race that was working. The next day, nobody. Nobody knew anything about it. I mean, how do you do that? How do you not put a poster up there? How do you not have a big a sign of some sort? All kinds of promotion going each way. Word of mouth spreads. Maybe the person you told the message to doesn't get it, but they say something. Hey man, they got a big something there at the track, and I hear there's going to be a race this weekend. Blah blah blah. All of a sudden, people start going. I talked to several people that did go to the race that didn't make a decision until the day before. On Sunday, they saw that there was nobody at the track on Saturday. They just happened to turn their TV on. They were like, huh, they're running tomorrow. I think I'll go. They probably would have, one guy told me he would have been there Saturday if he knew there was a race. I'm like, it's not rocket science. That's unexcusable. That's not marketing. That's just plain sales. You got to ask for the sale. These guys are so out to lunch, it's not even funny. They all need to be gone, gone, gone. Now, I don't blame this on Doug Bowles, but this is under his watch, so he's going to get blamed for it. You failed, Doug. You didn't make sure everybody was on the page at the beginning of the year. You had plenty of time. You should have went and had a promoters. You should have had all the people that were running the promotions at a summit the first day you were in office. You should have scheduled that. That's on you, Doug. Now, I'm fully aware that you probably are not the problem because you've done so well at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And you probably thought that was more important than the rest of the season. But in IndyCar, they've lost 45. You've had 45 venues, and you only have 17 since 1996. That means that you have you've lost twice, and it's more than that because the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was always on the schedule. Always. And some of these people are from the kart days. These tracks. From the split era. There is no reason that you cannot make this better. All you got to do is figure out what the hell we did in the past and start bringing some of that stuff back. And why are we not having more? Why isn't it more of an event? And why the hell isn't the schedule for the freaking this weekend on the freaking internet? I don't get it. On your site, you have complete control of. That's my take. Here's my dirty hat. And hopefully Honda signs because you are doing everything in your powers. Everything in your powers. The Penske Entertainment has done everything it can do to run Honda off. And for that matter, Chevrolet. And you kiss their ass to bring in a hybrid that is doing absolutely nothing for anybody. I don't get it. You haven't had a new car in 14 years. Yeah, Doug. The great thing about that is to get this car scheduled for 28. It'll probably be here by 30 with the way you guys do business. And I think that Sebastian Weldon may be able to drive the car his dad designed. And he's been dead since 2011. That'll be a great thing. And you'll be able to have some promotion with that. And I'm sure Fox will put it on TV. And Townsend Bell will love it. There's another dead weight. Get him out of the freaking booth. He's horrible. Horrible. Townsend Bell he started out great. But the last 2 or 3 seasons, oh my God. He is unlistenable. Unlistenable. He's the absolute worst color guy I've ever seen. He talks over the lead anchor all the daggone time. He doesn't let him talk when there's something going on the racetrack that needs to be broken into what he is. He tries to lead. He tries to be the lead anchor in those occasions, and he does it all the time. He needs to go. He's overstayed his welcome. Yeah, he was good 5-10 years ago, but now he's terrible, and he's been terrible for several years. Get him out of there. Hinchcliffe, you need to tell him to shut up. You need to tell Townsend Bell to shut his mouth. That's it. That's my take from the 4th turn. Please like and subscribe this if you're interested in this content. I'm going to be at Milwaukee this weekend, and I'll probably do a video from there. See you later.